If you're going to work in cybersecurity, the very first thing that you need to understand is what is cybersecurity. In today's episodes, I'm going to break it down completely and clearly, explaining exactly what cybersecurity is so you can understand whether or not you even want to work in this field. Coming up. Hey everybody, welcome to SimplyCyber, the YouTube channel that helps you make and take a cybersecurity career further, faster. I'm your host, Gerald Ozier, and on this channel, we make videos around the cybersecurity industry, certifications, home labs. We talk to individuals working in the field across various roles. So if that's something that's interesting to you, consider checking out the other videos on the channel or maybe hitting subscribe. We push out videos every Monday at noon. If you want to jump around the video, check out the minute markers in the show description below. I put them there so you don't have to slog through this if you want to jump right to a juicy part. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about what is cybersecurity. This really is a first video that you should do if you're even considering working in this industry. The other day, I did a live stream called How to Get into Cybersecurity with No Experience, and I'll link to it right there. It was really well attended, and I got a lot of great engagement for the community, but it dawned on me after the event that, some people don't really even fully understand what cybersecurity is. They know that there's a ton of jobs, they know it pays really well, and they know it's kind of a hot area, so they want to work there, but they don't even stop to understand. And on this channel, a lot of videos I make are focused on like how to make a lab to learn this particular skill or what this particular job does. But I almost took it as an assumption that everybody watching understood what cybersecurity is. So today is going to be your beginner, day one, level one, first class of what is cybersecurity. So this is cybersecurity in a nutshell, okay? Cybersecurity, or information security as it was referred to until cyber became like the hottest word ever, is basically the protection or security of information, and it's across three different dimensions: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You'll hear that referred to as the CIA triad. Now, what you need to understand is that we're focused on protecting the information, so we're always cognizant of where information is, and we have to think about the systems that the information resides in and the people or processes that have the ability to touch that information. So this is where it starts getting a little complicated, but just remember, it's always about the information and the systems that are required to either use the information or provide value to the business, okay? And that's why cyber kind of eclipsed information security, because you could start having business processes and systems that don't really have information necessarily, but they're like systems that require to be running in order to generate revenue. So think of like an oil refinery, right? You're refining oil. The machine has to be up. Well, there's industrial control system computers that are running that. Yes, there's data and metrics and stuff like that running through performance data, and that is information that needs to be protected. But like really, that machine needs to not go down, right? So absent of the information, the machine and the system and the process is what you're protecting. So that's kind of the two root level things that you got to be thinking about. And you can boil that into the machine's availability, right? Remember that CIA triad. So when we think of information as a simple example, first, if we're gonna go do cybersecurity, you have to think of, okay, so like, what are we talking about here? So let's take a very simple example and say a website that is a store, right? So like, let's say Amazon, right? That's a very big one, right? They probably have a huge information security staff. First of all, if you were gonna be a cybersecurity person there, what do you got to protect? Okay, so there's all the customer information, including credit card and personal data. Okay, so that's a ton of information. There's all of the vendor information, like their bank accounts where the money's going. And then there's all the inventory. And, like if you mess up the inventory, if a bad person changes it to say that there's no inventory, you can't sell any, even though you have a warehouse full of it, right? So that information. then the actual availability of the website itself. So like the e-commerce platform, that is like Meta, right? That needs to be available. And then all of the operating systems that run the application server, the database server, maybe there's integration servers, those type of things. All of that needs to be protected. So before I overwhelm you, the way that you really should think about it is this. What information and what systems are required for the business to operate or achieve whatever goal they want? Once you have that, then think about this kind of stack. Think about the applications that need to be involved. So this could be like, the web server, Apache IIS. It could be Java. It could be Microsoft Word, right? Like whatever applications people need. Then beneath that, think of the operating systems. Oh, by the way, in applications, it could be like lower level applications too, like React or Apache or MySQL, PHP, the database server, like whatever applications, okay? So you get those. Then you got to think about the operating systems. What kind of servers are these things running on? The applications don't run without servers. And we're going to put cloud aside for a minute and just think of traditional. What servers? So you got Linux servers, RHEL servers, you got Windows operating system servers, yeah, probably. And then if you got those, what kind of infrastructure do you need to support that? So do you have Active Directory running your Microsoft farm? How's email working as part of that, right? Because there's email flying around. When you buy something at Amazon, you get an email. So there's a mail relay server, something like that going on. Then beneath that, so apps, server, network, right? So how the network goes and understanding and protecting the network is critical. In fact, understanding networking is so important that I've made a video on basically the stripped down minimum you need to know about networking to work in cybersecurity. I recommend checking that out. And then physical layer. So like actually physically accessing where those servers are or the people that get into there, like swipe badge access and stuff like that. So application, operating system, network, physical. That's really the easiest way to think about it. And think about for those four stacks, how like the information is protected within those. So, that's really the gist of cybersecurity. And then once you've kind of identified those, you start to think of, well, is there any risk there, right? So risk is kind of a side of cybersecurity that doesn't get a lot of love. But it's very important. And you say like, okay, so we've got this web server that everyone can access, and you can remote into it and just use a username and password. Well, that's probably not the best. So maybe we could put a VPN and require you have to remote in through like on an internal server before you can access that DMZ server. Or maybe in order to log in, you need two forms of authentication, a username and password, and maybe a rotating 6-digit PIN number. What you've done here is you've introduced controls that reduce the risk of that server being compromised, which would ultimately result in like your whole infrastructure getting compromised potentially, right? Because what bad guys will typically do is they'll get in and then start moving laterally, looking around, and ultimately try to escalate privileges and stuff like that. So that's what cybersecurity is. Now, moving from that, you can do a million different jobs in the field. So, like say you're on the red team, right? Offensive security, hacker, pen tester. Well, then you help businesses understand where they need those controls because you're able to pop boxes and take over things or exfiltrate their sensitive data. You could say, hey, we were able to get your sensitive data because you didn't have multi-factor authentication on this one server and we walked right in. Or we were able to walk up to the data center, bum a cigarette off somebody by the side door, and then walked in and plugged a USB drive in. Whatever it is, that's the application layer or that's the physical layer, just again, talking about those four layers. So if you're on the red side, that's what you do. If you're on the blue side, you're thinking of what those controls could be or putting in controls that can help detect and realize when an incident is occurring and how to like limit the time from the incident occurring to actually doing something about it. Like, containing it or eradicating it or recovering from it, whatever. So, and then, maybe you're a malware analyst. So, once the blue team contains it, you take whatever was there and you reverse it to see if you can find out like any information, like maybe there's network traffic going out to a C2 server, so you can get that indicator of compromise and see if there's any other compromised systems in your environment, right? Then there's architecture, like building the whole defensive thing. You got management, legal. There's a whole host of roles, but they all kind of grow out of this base root of what I'm telling you about right now, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information and the systems that are used to deliver business process and business value. That's why it's so important, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, for you to understand, if you're going to work in this field, how to talk somewhat to the business, because everything has to enable the business. It's no longer the office of no, where you just say like, this is our standard and this is what you need to implement. You have to be realistic and flexible in order to support the business while maintaining a reasonable appetite for risk. Okay, so hopefully that was clear. I really wanted to boil it down and give you that perspective. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I will answer them. I wanted this to be a Cybersecurity 101 beginner thing, and I hope that I achieve that. So let me know. I'm happy and willing to elaborate on any point within here. But just remember, it's protecting information in the systems that the business requires to do. Think about the application, operating system, network, and physical layer and how to control the risk there. And, it's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality is that only the right people get to see the data and nobody else does. Integrity is that the data isn't modified in any way, so the people who are looking at it can have confidence in its validity. And availability is that the data is there, the system is up when you need it, okay? So hopefully that was good. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. SimplyCyber is blowing up, and it's because of people like you, hitting thumbs up, sharing it with your friends, hitting the subscribe button. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And until next week, stay secure.